after 7 o'clock on August 5th, Monday, and I'm going to call the Stayton City Council meeting to order. And please join me in a flag salute. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everyone on council is accounted for with the exception of Councilor Giglio and Councilor McDonald, which we haven't heard from yet. Are there any additions to the agenda? Julia? There's Councilor McDonald walking in.
No, there are not.
Is there any declaration of ex parte contacts, conflict of interest, bias, etc.? I don't hear any. It's an opportunity for a public comment. Did anyone sign up to do public comment, Alyssa? Nope. Anyone want to give public comment that didn't sign up? Doesn't look like it. That moves us on to the consent agenda from July 15th, the regular session minutes and the work session minutes. What would council like to do?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Sims.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda as published.
Seconded.
Okay, it's motion and second to accept the consent agenda as submitted. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Moves us to presentation, and this is an opportunity for years of service recognition with Alyssa.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, every year we recognize our employees who have hit a 5, 10, 15 plus milestone. And so tonight we've got a few employees actually here in the audience also. So I won't make you come up while I'm reading it. Oh, I'm seeing maybe some requests though for that. Just to stand right in front of the camera. But I do have a certificate for you once we're done, and I'll have you come up then. So Michael Bradley has devoted 25 years to working for the city of Stayton. Throughout his tenure, he has contributed to various departments such as parks, streets, and water, and currently serves as the chief water plant operator. Holding a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology from Oregon State University, he has also attained a water treatment and distribution level 2 certification from the Oregon Health Authority. Outside of work, Michael enjoys spending time with his wife, Julia, who's here, camping, and watching his children's events and activities. Michael's children are Michaela, Marissa, Carson, and his stepdaughters, Olivia and Sophia. Congratulations, Michael, on 25 years. All right, next up is another employee who's hit 25 years this year. I don't see her here tonight, but it's Rachel Ferris. Rachel has worked for the city of Stayton, filling the police department's records and evidence clerk role for 25 years. Rachel also extends her commitment by serving on the safety committee and attending events such as the Fishing Derby and National Night Out. Prior to working for the city of Stayton, Rachel also worked at the city of Salem. When referring to her extended family, Rachel lovingly calls her family members bonus rather than step. Rachel's family includes her angel husband, Greg, 7 kids, 3 of which are bonus kids, 11 grandkids, 4 of which are bonus, and 2 bonus babies on the way. Her best friend, Joy, and sister-in-law, Connie, have made big contributions to Rachel's life, and she credits them with helping to shape who she is today. Rachel enjoys NASCAR, watching the Green Bay Packers, working in her yard, and her grandbabies. Thanks, Rachel. Congratulations. Next up is Bob Parsons, who is here with us tonight, back there with his family. Bob Parsons is celebrating 20 years in parks maintenance operations with the city of Stayton. We can always count on Bob's support if there are ever other areas where he is needed. Bob was chairman of the city's safety committee for many years, and although he is no longer actively serving on any committees, you can often find Bob at the Stayton Parks and Recreation Board meetings, as well as Oregon Recreation and Parks Association meetings. Bob's previous employment includes 7 years as a ranger for Oregon State Parks, servicing at Detroit Lake, Willamette Mission, and Shampooey Parks. Bob is a graduate of Stayton High School and jokingly touts his degree from the School of Hard Knocks and a Lifetime of Labor. This past July, Bob and his wife, Kathy, celebrated 40 years of marriage. Together, they have 2 sons and 5 grandchildren, 2 boys and 3 girls. Bob is an avid woodworker and enjoys working with his hands to create things from wood. Some of Bob's handiwork can be seen around the city. In years past, Bob enjoyed being a scout leader, a baseball coach, and a hunter safety instructor. However, he is currently slowing things down and enjoying the rest of his life. Congratulations, Bob.
Alyssa, you forgot one thing about Bob.
Uh-oh.
He was the safety driver for the parade.
Oh, yes. Yes, he was. Okay, next up, I don't see Christian here. Christian Sandoval has been a police officer at the Stayton Police Department for 5 years. Prior to his employment with the city, Officer Sandoval served at the Benton County Sheriff's Office and was a seasonal Marine Patrol deputy and reserve deputy. He holds a basic police certification and was awarded the 2021 Stayton Life Saving Award. Christian has a 3-year-old son named Hudson and enjoys barbecuing, cooking, playing guitar, video games, and attending concerts and stand-up comedy shows. Congratulations, Christian. Let's see. All right, I don't see her here either. Danielle Emmert is the wastewater treatment plant sewer supervisor and previously held the role of wastewater treatment plant operator to collections during her 5 years with the city. Before coming to work for the city of Stayton, Danielle worked for engineering firm CH2M Hill Jacobs, serving Coos Bay, Sweet Home, and Lebanon at their water and wastewater treatment plants. Danielle holds an associate's degree in water and wastewater environmental science from Lynn Benton Community College. Danielle and her husband Leif have a daughter Kaya and have been a temporary home to 6 exchange students. Congratulations, Danielle. And lastly is Jennifer Gayton like Stayton. Okay, good to know. Jennifer Gayton has been with the city of Stayton for 5 years, working as the library assistant in youth services. While not officially serving on any committees, Jennifer is a member of the Oregon Library Association and a self-proclaimed library ninja with a knack for collaborating. Jennifer has achieved a Bachelor of Science degree in anthropology and an option in education from OSU, but identifies the most intriguing part of her education as what she has learned working with the public. Jennifer says, if there were a certificate for weird things I learned at work today, I would have earned it many times over. Jennifer is married to her husband, Nicholas, and has a son, Yannick, and daughter, Brianna. Her hobbies are described as curating chaos in the garden, puppy wrangling a sweet but ornery shoe-stealing lab, and raising tiny dinosaurs. Jennifer cited Helen Keller's quote, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much," and in doing so acknowledges, "My best is never going to beat what we can do as a team, and I'm thankful every day for the opportunity to be a part of one that brings imagination to life." Thank you, Jennifer. And that is it. I am done. Thank
Awesome,
you, Council.
thank you. I want to congratulate all you folks for those milestones. Really great to see, and I really thank you for your commitment to the community. So, good, job well done. Okay, public hearing. Any public hearing? Not tonight. Leaves us to general business. Resolution number 1112, park shelter rentals and facility use reservations. Mr. Brand.
Good evening, James Brand, City's Finance Director. And Resolution 1112 is the result of the budget process when we had some cuts earlier at the beginning of the fiscal year. And some of the cuts, this was identified as some revenue which would be generated in the park system, which would reduce the subsidy from the general fund. So the proposal was to add some fees to some park facilities. Currently, we do charge rent for the Jordan Bridge and the concession stand at Pioneer Park. And so this resolution would add 5 more rental facilities. The north shelter at Pioneer Park, south shelter at Pioneer Park, and then an option to rent all of Pioneer Park. And then the Sanium Park has a covered shelter, and then the tennis or pickleball courts at the community center. So we do have the reservation system for those 2 initial areas at Pioneer Park. And multiple times we've had people call and want to reserve other park areas for an event, and we just didn't have that system in place. So we see this as a win-win. The parks are still free for people to come as they please, but they're also reservable, which comes with these fees that we've outlined here. And we just think it would work well and allow people to plan ahead for events. It does have an increase of 25% to the fee for non-residents, and this will go into effect October 1st if passed. And so what you have in the resolution is basically replacing the old fee schedule, which was in resolution 1110, so it would wipe that out, and then we drop the whole new fee schedule in there. So if you're looking at the fee schedule and want to see these new fees, they're on page 8 under the facility rentals. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thanks, James. For 1 second, is there any public comment? Okay, council. Council discussion, council decision, followed
Mr.
by-
Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilor Orr.
So just to clarify, you can use these areas without having to rent them, but if you want to like make sure that you have them, this is the way to go.
Absolutely. The parks are still free, first come, first serve, as they always have been. But if you do want to reserve it for an event, then there would be a booking system that we're working on. Luckily, we have sports sites that we use for our swimming pool, and we believe it will work well for these systems. And we would have a scheduling system that people could access, hopefully through a QR code, but we also might need to have something in print at each of these sites that they could call. They can still call or stop in at the Public Works Department and make the reservation in person or by telephone.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Patty.
there's no further questions. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Doesn't appear to be. Go ahead.
Okay. I move that we approve resolution number 1112 as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second to approve resolution 1112 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor of resolution 1112 for park shelter rentals and facility use reservations, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, Julia, update on street survey and discussion of next steps.
Yeah, so I'm going to actually hand out, this is the Survey Monkey report out, so we're actually going to work on, thank you, we're going to work on a more thorough summary, but I just wanted to give you an update. The survey, we actually haven't closed it. We were thinking about closing it today, actually, but I just wanted to wait until after this council meeting to see if you had any additional comments, questions, thoughts. But as of today, we had received 137 responses to the survey. The majority, 98% of the respondents use personal vehicles, with 66% biking and 20% walking. Not surprisingly, 46% of the respondents rate the overall condition of Stayton streets as poor. 9.5% rate it as very poor. Interestingly, though, 30% rated the streets as neutral and 15% rated them as good. So I thought that was kind of interesting. 56% of the respondents said that the quality of the streets sometimes makes them feel unsafe, with an equal amount, 21.9%, saying yes, it did make them feel unsafe, and 21.9% saying no, it did not make them feel unsafe. When asked about options, people supported to increase the funding for streets. The majority, or 59%, supported grants. And this was a check all that applies answer, so it's not going to add up to 100. But 40% supported transfers from the general fund, and 33% supported urban renewal and adjusting the gas tax. A bond or loan paid back by fees or taxes was actually the least supported at 19%, which is still, a decent number of respondents. Streets that people go out of their way to avoid were numerous, and that's actually not in the printout because we've got a separate list of them. There were 31 specific streets named. The ones named the most were 5th, 6th, and Ida, with all over 20 responses. Virginia and 4th also received double-digit responses. And we also heard themes such as all of the downtown streets, all older streets, and the streets around Pioneer Park. And again, when we do the more detailed summary, we'll give you the data on that. There were 34 streets listed when asked what streets they felt were the least maintained. The top answer at 23 was Ida, followed by Virginia and 6th with 12 responses, 5th and 3rd with 10 responses, Kindle Way with 9, 4th Avenue received 7 responses, Wilco received 6, Fur and Scenic View had 5 responses, High and Water had 4, and other streets named were Dawn, Kathy, Fern Ridge, Myrtle, Birch. I wrote Shall, but I think that is a misprint, and I don't know what it, Shaft, probably, I bet that's what it is, thank you. Westtown, Wyatt, Robidoux, 2nd, 7th, Gardner, Maple, Burnett, Pine, Santiam, Hollister, Highland, Washington, Douglas, Locust, and Evergreen. And then that also got some of all the streets around Pioneer, all gravel, the similar ones. The majority, 41% of the respondents supported, so we gave them the option of what do you support in terms of the funding matrices, the 67% rehab or 50% rehab. Of the choices, 41% supported the 67% rehab and 33% reconstruction option. 21% supported the 31% rehab and 69% reconstruction. 19% supported 100% rehab or rehabilitation. No one chose 50-50. I thought that was interesting that not a single person voted for 50-50, and 10% preferred 100% reconstruction. Regarding what streets should be focused on, the majority, 64%, felt residential neighborhood streets. This again was like a check all that applies. 49% said high volume streets, and then downtown received 36% and main arteries received 35%. So with all this, I was kind of like, we will do a more detailed summary. So the plan is to do a more detailed summary with the detailed responses. And then what I think would work is to apply what we heard in a matrix and correlate that with what the consultants had recommended with the GRI, with what they kind of were saying we should focus on, and the pace, the index number, what the classification of the street is, arterial, local, the traffic volume, as well as getting input from Public Works on other infrastructure needs, to try to come up with a list for this year. I mean, this is really what we need to focus on first, is what we're going to focus on this fiscal year for streets, so that Public Works can move forward with the contracting, designing, those types of things. So that's a quick summary of what the plan is. And I'd love your input, thoughts, questions.
Councilor Patty.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to, real quick, turn our attention to Q9, question 9, which is which types of streets would you prefer the city to prioritize fixing? I'm just curious, does the city currently, the way we manage our, street maintenance, do we have priorities for these categories of streets And the reason, and just to be transparent in my question, the reason I'm asking this is I feel like maybe we should have some policies around this about what the priority is. And then looking at these results, it looks like the will of the public, at least that voted on this, is very much towards residential neighborhoods. And then after that, obviously, the efficiency of just high volume traffic. And I find that interesting. And so I'm just kind of curious what our policies are. Can we start to look at that kind of thing, et cetera?
And we do have in the municipal code the prioritization, and you know, it's arteries, collectors, local streets, and I think, I don't have it memorized, but I think that there is some stuff about downtown, you know, areas. So I will get that to you, but there is some information, and it generally, except for just the residential neighborhoods, it generally correlates with what our code says. You know, taking the residential neighborhoods out, but streets with high traffic volumes, that's going to be arterials and collectors primarily, and high volume locals, main arteries, downtown. So this actually, you know, it's not too surprising, so that's good. The streets in dense population is interesting. I think that maybe people didn't really understand what that's going to be, more volume, more efficient, that kind of stuff. But that's okay. But yeah, we can certainly remind council where that's at in the municipal code. And if we need to make changes, we certainly can.
Thank you. I think that would be valuable just to have that discussion, especially as we move towards formulating what our process is to identify roads for street rehabilitation and improvement.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Council Orr.
Julie, can you remind me how long this survey was out again?
It's been over a month. We've been doing kind of pushes regularly, so when we do that, we'll see a spurt. So we did another push, I think last Thursday or Friday, and we got another 17 over the weekend. But it's been, I don't know, I can't remember exactly when we launched it, but it's been over a month.
Yeah, Julia, what, when we've done previous surveys like this, what was the response number-wise? I think 137, and maybe I'm misguided here, but that seems a little low to me.
So I knew that you guys would think that. The homeless task force had a lot of responses. That is abnormal for, I mean, if I were in my prior position and we had 137 responses to a survey, I'd think that was decent. I would be pretty pleased with that. Given how much we got with the homeless task force, I think it was well over 400. I was like, oh, I really want more. I would love to get more. But we also want to launch another survey about parking in the downtown area. And we don't want to have two surveys going at the same time. So that's one of the reasons why we can certainly do another push. We've got National Night Out tomorrow. We can keep it open through the end of the week and see what we can do. But at some point we need to close it and then do additional, you know, projects where we're trying to get outreach.
Mr. Mayor?
Council Orr.
Oh my gosh, it just lost me. Is this sent out, like, we have that list of emails? This is sent out specifically to those
It was sent
people?
out to those. It was in the newsletter. We've pushed it out on social media multiple times. It's on our website. We've got a handout. We actually had it at the Summerfest. So we've been trying to get the word out. I think it's just harder for people to, when you think about this park survey, that was another one we had, and we had 50, 60 responses. We didn't have a ton, maybe even less than that. I think it's not abnormal for people to be very involved in something that affects them immediately, and this doesn't quite affect them, so again, I think the homeless task force the homeless survey was an anomaly. It was a wonderful anomaly to have that many responses, but I think that was not the usual. Not that we don't want to strive for that, we want that, but I wouldn't think that that this is a significant, a low response, but it would be lovely to get more.
Mr. Mayor. Real quick.
ahead.
I just want to also tag on. We also gave I gave a quick presentation about this survey to the school board as well, just to encourage their participation, and got some feedback from board member Whipper, actually specifically about some of the stuff in Q9, and that's sort of where my questions are even coming from. So I think that the survey responses, at least for me, they're more than I expected for an issue like this. I think with the homeless thing, it's more of a controversial issue, and this is a lot more nuts and bolts and a little bit more boring government, to be honest with you. No offense, Julia.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to just say, because we have National Night Out tomorrow, maybe just keep it open like to the end of the
Okay.
week.
It's good.
Because if
Yeah.
you're not ready with the next one, then you're kind of missing an opportunity for either.
Sure,
Right?
yeah.
So might as well.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Counselor Sims?
Yeah, I was looking at question 6, actually. That one, I was just looking at the response. I don't really have a question, but definitely there's not a lot of support for the bond. I know this is a small sample size, but that and the transportation fee, 30%. I mean, I know there's not a lot there's a lot of response for state and general grants, but I know there's not a lot of money out there for city streets to repair them. That's just a little concerning.
Well, and keep in mind, this is not statistically valid. It's really just to help gauge and to help inform the conversations. If there was like, this overwhelming, majority in one thing, or this overwhelming like lack of support for something, that's just something that is important to keep in mind. It's not surprising that the majority was state and federal grants. Sure, free money. The other ones, when you take that one out, there wasn't a huge difference in them. But yeah, it was interesting that the bond was the least supported. It may be that it was the least understood, so it could be that through this we just figure out what we want to ask more questions about, what we want to understand a little bit more of.
Yeah, I think it was probably misunderstood, and especially when you have the property fees attached to it, without defining what property fees
Yeah.
are. So,
Okay.
anybody else? So it sounds like you're going to leave it open through, the week or tomorrow?
Yes, and then we will do a more detailed
Okay.
memo and kind of come to you with some initial matrices and recommendations on how we proceed with this year, but then also kind of discussion about what do we do? What do we do now? So,
Sounds good.
Okay.
So let's talk about the continuation of the League of Oregon Cities Legislative Priorities discussion.
yes. So this one was, we talked about on July 15th. I brought copies in case anybody didn't remember what we had. I don't know if you can pass that out, I'm sorry. So on July 15th, we talked about it. Councilor Ort and Councilor McDonald were not here then, and the mayor suggested, basically, we didn't have to get a response until, I think, the end of August, early September, so suggested holding this over. That would give him a little bit more time to think about things as well. Just as a recap, the League of Oregon Cities is asking for cities to provide their priorities. They developed a voter guide that was included in your packet on July 15th. I took that and identified the projects that I thought would have a benefit to Stayton, and that's included in the handout that Alyssa just handed out. Of those, Councilor Sims, Councilor Giglio, and Councilor Patty chimed in, and all those three supported the infrastructure funding initiative, employment lands readiness and availability initiative, and restoration of recreational immunity, as well as the 2025 transportation package. Councilor Giglio and Patty supported behavioral health enhancements, and Councilor Sims addressing energy affordability challenges and rising utility costs. So what we would like is to get the folks that didn't chime in on what their initiative priority would be to say that, and then we'll have to kind of debate and discuss which 5, I believe, yeah, they wanted the top 5, which of the 5 you give me input on so that I can include that in the survey to the League of Oregon Cities.
And did we not reach a consensus at that meeting with the people that were in attendance here? I thought we did. Then Counselor Sims, did you, I don't want to put words, did you not agree?
Yes, I think that, go ahead, you speak.
I really didn't say anything about it, but I don't have a problem with the behavioral health enhancements, because I'd stated the energy, address energy affordability, and, you know, there were some good points about that and being vague, and
Yeah.
so I like the 5 choices that Counselor Patty and was it Counselor Giglio had.
And I did as well. So I'd like to hear what Counselor McDonald and Counselor Ward have to say.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
did you guys talk about the last one, the shift from a gas tax to a road user fee?
I don't recall we did.
Yeah, that didn't rise on anybody else's list of priorities, but if that's something that you
No,
want to.
not necessarily. I just was curious. How do you figure that out?
There's a lot of issues with it.
Yeah, but okay. I just wanted to know if you guys talked about it. That's all.
Nope.
It's not. I'm not interested in that one.
You want this, when is this
So,
deadline?
yeah, I guess perhaps the question would be, is there any opposition to forwarding basically the 4 on the first page and the 2025 transportation packages as our legislative priorities to LOC?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I think I would probably, of these lists, of these items, I would probably put a little bit higher priority on the addressing energy affordability. I know there's all of the electric utilities around the state are proposing rate hikes seemingly annually now that are pretty significant. So that would be a pretty high priority for me. The first, I'm not sure, of course, infrastructure, number 1. The rest are probably equal but lesser priority for me personally, I would say, but I don't have any problem with any of these. I'm not quite sure I understand quite what the employment lands readiness and availability means. I might have to have somebody explain that to me since I wasn't here. But the rest all seem like good ideas, and I think I don't have any problem with any of these.
Okay. Counselor Ward?
Mr. Mayor, I would agree with Councilor McDonald. Addressing energy affordability challenges is a concern of mine. I don't necessarily agree with how to get there, it sounds like, with the LLC, so that would not be my first choice on that. So I'm okay with the ones that you guys had already picked out and discussed.
Okay. I don't know where that changes anything, but I don't have a say in it, so.
So I guess I'll just, so Counselor Sims initially had identified the addressing energy affordability challenges as a priority, but was swayed to the behavioral health enhancements. And I don't know Counselor Patty, if you want.
Yeah, I'm prepared to make an argument for it, if you're willing to hear it. So the way I read this, and this is just me, Ben, I have a lot of, I don't know, heartburn as to how we get there, what measures they're going to use here, and it seems vague to me. I don't like that. I like the idea of reducing energy costs to consumers ultimately to go ahead and make things more affordable, but I'm just afraid of like the vagueness in the language and the initiative there. And the reason I like the behavioral health enhancements, and maybe this is just me and what I do and why I'm impacted by this a bit, I think that treatment beds for people in this predicament would go further and just like a real measurable way to helping our community, like directly, if they had access to those beds. And so that's me. I'm a one-off maybe, and that's just my experience as an individual counselor of 5. And so that's my argument, if you'll hear it.
I mean, we have one more, we still have another meeting before.
We do, and there certainly doesn't have to be a consensus.
Yeah.
I think I've heard from a majority of the 5, but it would be lovely if there was a consensus, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, and I don't want to rush Councilor McDonald or Councilor Ort. I mean, we discussed this at the previous meeting. We had a month to think about it some more, and so I think it's only fair for these folks to have another time to consider. So can we move it to, can we let them, give them a homework assignment, move it to the next meeting?
Yes.
Or was that too short?
I think that's fine. I think it was the end of August, so I think that should be fine. I just want to make sure I don't miss the deadline.
Sure, if you want to
Yeah.
put it like maybe next Friday, it's up to you.
Oh, okay.
Is a week enough
I'd
time?
appreciate that. Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
That'd be
So
great.
let's move it to next Friday,
Okay,
and then just solicit them email, please.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, so are we good with that topic? All right, that moves us to communication from city staff.
I have a few. I just wanted to remind council, I had sent out an email that the League of Oregon Cities Conference registration is open. Per the budget, we have room for 2 people to attend. Councilor Sims has indicated that he would like to go. It would be lovely to have another counselor in attendance if they are willing. It's actually over in Bend at the Valley River, the River House. I knew it was River something, which is, yes, it's a good location.
What was the date on that, Julie?
Oh, gosh, I didn't write that down. It's in October. Yeah. We will look that up. While she's looking that up, just as a reminder, National Night Out is tomorrow. We are hosting an event at Pioneer Park from 6 to 7:30. It's Pioneer Park's ice cream social time. There'll be more than ice cream. There'll be some hot dogs and chips and ice cream and cookies and fun to be had by all. Christian's going to get some lawn games, and hopefully we'll have a good turnout. I just want to get confirmation on who's going to be there. Okay. I guess, who's not going to be there? You're not? Okay. Is anybody else?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I'm tentative.
And I'm guessing.
Councilor
he's-
Julia will not be there.
Yeah. We are also planning did you find it?
Yes, October 17th to the 19th.
October 17th through the 19th is the League of Oregon Cities Conference. We are planning a ribbon cutting ceremony for Ida Street. It's substantially done. There's still some striping that needs to be done, but we want to, in the vein of wanting to celebrate our successes, we want to do a ribbon cutting. We're discussing doing it on August 30th, which will actually be a Friday, and we're going to just make sure that RDS doesn't have an issue with it, but we're thinking it would be fun to do that like right before or at the kickoff of the TGI Friday event, just to kind of have people there. Just a correction, in my weekly update, I mentioned the Mill Creek Park OPRD grant that we are we've moved forward, which is fantastic. We recommended for funding. The board is meeting on September 18th, not August 18th, so we won't know until September 18th. So, yeah, so don't ask me on August 18th. I won't know yet. But it's looking very good. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is there an opportunity for testimony at that on behalf of the city, or do you know?
I don't know. I'll look into that. I think it's pretty routine.
Yeah, I thought in the past maybe they were asking us at the time to.
Oh,
I don't know.
really?
Maybe I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I don't know.
Okay, I will check. Yeah, I get I think it's fairly routine and more like a consent item unless there's things
Sure.
that need to be fixed, but I'm not positive. But I will check. Okay. And the last thing I have, and I don't know if anybody else has any updates. Arts Commission, just let you know that we have met a couple of times, or Jennifer and they have met a couple of times. There are 3 out of 5 members. What? Well, sort of, yeah, 3 out of 5. One of those 3 resigned, but I think she may have temporarily unresigned so that they don't lose a quorum because they won't be able to meet if there's only 2. So I guess my point is, if you know somebody that is interested in serving on the Arts Commission, we would love for them to apply so that they could continue meeting and doing things. And then, did any of my directors have any updates? Nope. Okay. That's all we've got.
Okay, thank you. Opportunity for communication from council and mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilor McDonald.
Might as well take this opportunity since we'll never know what's going to happen in the future, and it's getting pretty late in the year. But I'm sorry to spring this on staff, but I'm going to go ahead and announce that I'm not going to be running for re-election this November. Every time that I think that life can't get busier, it throws me another curveball, and I feel like the city and the city would be better served by someone that can dedicate some more time to the position. I really value. I think it'll be, by the time my term is up, 5 years of serving on the council. It's been educational and really changed how I look at things and how I look at local governments and how they serve the public, and so I appreciate the staff and my fellow councilors and the mayor for everything you've contributed to my experience here. So I didn't really have a prepared statement or anything, so I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but that's it. But I think that right now with 2 young boys in high school this coming year and everything else that's going on, it'll be better for me to free up a little bit of my time and step down. So I appreciate everything else has done for me. Appreciate it.
And just to clarify, you're not running, you're not actually stepping down.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
I'm planning on serving out the rest of my term, so until early January, whenever that is. I don't want to make any extra work or for staff or the council, so yes, I will serve out the rest of my term, but will not be on the ballot.
Councilor McDonald, I want to acknowledge that and say thank you for the time and commitment that you've given to the city and to the council to this point. I think you've stepped into my shoes when I stepped away, and so I appreciate that perspective. I understand exactly why you're taking that step. It makes a big difference in your personal life, let me tell you. I too appreciate your perspective. You too have also given me a different time to reflect and step back for my preconceived notions sometimes, not all the time, but most of the time. And so it's been a good time for me to interact with you and really think about what's good for the community on a whole. And so I appreciate the challenges that you brought to us and just the perspectives and sharing with you, not being afraid to offer that and really, give us a different idea of what could be versus what we think is the way to do it. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patty.
Yeah, I just ditto everything the mayor just said, I guess. It's just, I still remember the process that selected you, and I remember coming up on your name and like, hey, what about this guy? And I just want to say it's just been really an honor serving with you the last, I guess we're going on 5 years. Thanks for making me realize that. I appreciate the voice that you've been to represent your positions, and I feel like it's representing people in this town, and I appreciate that they have a seat in the table through you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Ort.
I want to piggyback on that I have always appreciated your thoughtfulness, that when you speak with intention, and I appreciate that about you. Thank you. Thank you for willing to be able to serve the time you have.
Okay. And we'll see him to November, October, since January, right? Good.
I did have one more thing.
Go ahead, Councilor Ort.
Or did you have something?
Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you to Julia and thank you to the staff for bringing Lori Chavez de Reamer to our community. And I said this to Julia after we met, but I wanted to recognize your efforts to the council. That I just wanted to say thank you, and I appreciate your willingness when you came in and you jumped in and you saw an opportunity for us to have lobbyists and bring them to the table and just bring in federal funding, even state funding, just at every level that we didn't even know was there. And I think you mentioned it. You said, well, somebody's going to get the money. It might as well be us. And so I really appreciate that. And it was really cool to have her and her staff come. She was such a down-to-earth person, and her being a mayor and being on a city council in Happy Valley, right? In Happy Valley, she just got it, and it was really cool to see that. So thank you to you and the staff.
Anybody else? I echo what Councilor Ort just said, Julia. I think the interaction with her, with the Congresswoman and her team, to me, really shows caring for the community. I mean, she could just secure the funding for us and let us go on our way. It's not. She came out here, and she didn't use it as a campaign stop. She literally came here to see what the benefits of her securing that funding for us was. And that's what I appreciate the most about it. There was no fanfare. There was just her down to earth with us as a team, and it was just what I think the community needs from a funding perspective. And really, to Councilor Ort's point about her experience being real world experience and transferring that from her current position back to the community, it was great to see that. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for your foresight. I appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay. I will talk about Ian real quick. So I went on Tuesday, early meeting to go to, so I went to the Naked Cat to grab a drink, and there's Ian over there at Ida Street, and said, let me go see what's going on over there. I walk over there, and he looks like his day just started, even though he told me he was there all night watching the paving issue, because I guess they ran out of asphalt. And so he was running around trying to direct the guys. Did a great job, I thought, doing that. And really beneficial to have him tell me what was happening and what was taking place. It was great to see. So hats off to him for doing that. The street looks great. However, I do have one question. Have you been in front of the bakery?
I've driven by it.
So there's the new sidewalk there has a step that's kind of offset, and it's really misleading because you think it's the entire sidewalk, even though there's this another step, but there's another lip there in the sidewalk. So I'm just hoping that we can do something so people don't trip over that.
Yeah, I have noticed that, and I need to ask about that. I was thinking maybe there needs to be some landscape, like a little bit of dirt or something.
There needs to be some kind, even like a definitive stripes or something, because I know that the owner of Love and Oven has some feedback from folks, including I had personal feedback about that, so I went to see it myself.
Yeah, I will mention that to our Public Works folks.
I just don't want folks tripping over that, especially the way it used to be. It's different from what it used to be now. But it looks great. The street looks awesome, and Great job there. Yeah, that's all I really have. So with that, we will see everyone tomorrow that's going to be there, and meeting adjourned.